All right, welcome sports fans to a Friday episode of the Call Sheet Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Smith. This is our Hot Route episode where I'm joined by Pez from Pez's Picks. We talk about sports and life, and we got some great topics for you today. So bringing him in on vacation in the great state of Vermont. Pez, what's going on, my man?
It's our second home up here, Coach. Just driving in on my driveway, about to make a left. I see two bear crossing the highway. This is at about 11 in the morning. This is their turf. We're just borrowing these trees in this forest up here. The bears roll, and they look comfortable and cozy, but I don't think I'd hug them. I think you got to stay away from the bears. You got to respect the bears.
I think stay away from the bears is excellent advice. Good life advice. We don't get too many bears at the Jersey Shore, so you got a nice change of venue. You got the beach, and then now you're up in the mountains. Yeah, great little switchback there for you.
Well, you got to enjoy the nature. I mean, this is a big part of life and sports and gambling. You got to get out. You got to find your zen, Coach. You got to find your zen at everything. Gambling, primarily our interest. For you, it's coaching and whatever it may be. Get out there in nature. I think in Japan, it's a law. 4 hours a month, they must go out and enjoy nature. It should be a law here. Enough all the BS, everybody fighting. Let's get back to going out in nature. Let's get some bongos, maybe circle up with a fire, whatever it takes, Coach.
That'll be our first FFSN retreat, man. We're retreat out to the woods and we'll bongo it up. Little drum circle going on.
Make some s'mores.
Yeah, let's go. Who doesn't like that? So, all right, let's talk about what's on our show today. We're gonna address two big issues, interesting issues. One, the NBA Finals just wrapped up. Congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They won the franchise's first ever championship, but they won it in a Game 7 that was marred by a significant injury to Indiana star Tyrese Halliburton. We're going to talk about that topic. Why were there so many injuries, or why are there in the major sports these days, and specifically Achilles injury, something you didn't see that much before. And then our second topic is going to be about coaches, and we'll center around the question of, do you have to be, or if you worry about being liked as a coach, can you still be effective? So, all right, let's get to the NBA question first. Halliburton goes down in that Game 7. And I mean, from the moment he went down, you just kind of knew Indiana wasn't going to be able to keep pace. So I read this this morning. His was the 8th Achilles tear to end a player's season in the NBA this year. They've never had more than 5 in a single season until this year. Now they have 8. And it seems to be going on in other sports. We saw Aaron Rodgers have his season ended 2 years ago with an Achilles. What's your take on this, Pez? What's going on?
Well, obviously this game has changed, Coach. And we're both, about at the half-century mark age-wise, give or take a couple years, maybe below 50. I'm not going to out us out there, maybe above. But whatever it takes. In the 80s, 70s, 90s, we go back, 25, 30 years, much more physical game, much slower game. We had a half-court offense, and there were injuries, but we didn't have Achilles. We didn't have what for most people are career-ending injuries. The amount of possessions were probably half of what we're seeing now. Teams are averaging over 25 possessions a quarter. I mean, we're only talking 12-minute quarters here. So it's turned into a race. We're not seeing Shaquille O'Neal big guys anymore. You got to be long and thin and able to run. And I think it's just too much on these guys, and it's unfortunate. We saw Lillard go down with the Bucks, Tatum with the Celtics, and now Halliburton. And aside from it ruining a series and aside from affecting a championship, it changes a franchise. The Celtics have dumped their team over the past 2 weeks. Indiana, you're going to lose these guys for a year. When we look at the stats, nobody ever comes back 100% in basketball, especially if it's a running game. So I worry about the consistency of this game. I worry about how much different the playoffs were officiated to the regular season. We talk about legitimacy. It's something in the gambling world that we need. We need legitimate injury reports, legitimate officiating and rules. And I know in the NFL we get more physical in the playoffs, but this NBA season, the regular season was atrocious. And then the playoffs turned out to be excellent, exciting, and physical. But these injuries, we might have to address it like the NFL did. I think we're at that point.
It is fascinating how the nature of the NBA shifts dramatically from regular season to postseason. That could have something to do with it, the physical nature. I think you made a good point earlier about the speed of the game. And when you think about the nature of positions, we used to be able to define positions. You had a point guard, you had a shooting guard, you had a small forward, a power forward, a center. And those guys looked a certain way and they fit a certain role. Now you got Karl Anthony Towns, who's 7 foot tall, shooting 26-foot long 3-pointers. You got Miles Turner from the Pacers doing the same. These bigs are playing out on the perimeter. They're being asked to move more than they ever have. This is such now a movement-oriented game, and the explosiveness of these athletes is incredible. The wear and tear that that's putting specifically on your Achilles, which obviously for you to plant and push off is integral in being able to do that. I think there's that. What about the number of games, Pez? 82 regular season games, and then now you have 4 7-game series in the playoffs. You used to have it. The first round way back in the day was a 3-game series. Now you got 4 7-game series.
It's just too much with this style of play. I mean, we're at the point NFL got there when guys got to the point where you could be 280 pounds and run a 4.5 or faster 40. You became lethal. We saw ACLs and head injuries that were literally killing people. So we adjusted the rules in the NFL. We protect the quarterbacks. We protect the head. We protect concussion injuries. And it's changed the game. Some would argue for a different product, but I think it's a fun one. They're scoring more. The health of the players being taken into account. And we're seeing guys play into their late 30s, early 40s. I think in this NBA, we're not going to have LeBron James anymore. We're not going to have guys that can play to 40 because their legs aren't going to be able to take it. It's not the physical. It's the amount of miles you can put on those legs when you get to the NBA Finals, like you just said. You're playing over 100 games in a season. You're up and down the court. You know, and when we talk about Oklahoma City, clearly the best player in the league this year, Gilgeous-Alexander. I could watch that guy all day. He is a throwback player. He can change the pace of the game. He can slow that game down when he needs to. He can get his own shot. But what I think Oklahoma City really did, they had a 10 to 12 guy kind of system they ran all year. They subbed a lot, where most teams, New York, Indiana, East Coast teams especially, they had barely any bench. And I think that began to hurt these guys, especially even with the Celtics, where they have these minutes to get seeding for the playoffs. And then you enter into the playoffs and things, tune up a notch a little bit more tweak to the muscle. And you have this kind of career debilitating injury. So I don't know what they can do. They can go back to slow down offense, half court offense. They can maybe change the number of regular season games, where this year gambling, it was horrible. The regular season had no legitimacy. The injury report, it became what Popovich used to do in San Antonio. He wouldn't list guys in injury report. He just wouldn't play him. He'd just sit him on the bench. So we went back to that. And for a gambler, Tim Duncan being on the bench, but he should be playing, and you have money on the San Antonio Spurs, you want to take a hit on Popovich. You want to call your buddy in South Philly. So I don't know what we do. Maybe cut the regular season in half, drop it 20 games, but something needs to be done, because the product in the regular season compared to the playoffs, it's not legitimate anymore. And we're questioning whether or not how much to invest in regular season NBA games going forward.
2 quick thoughts. One, shortening the regular season. I don't know if you remember all the way back to 2001, but there was a strike that year, and the regular season was shortened to about 50 some games. And, you and I are Philadelphia 76ers fans. The 76ers wound up in the finals that year with Allen Iverson. But that was a fascinating regular season, because every game mattered. When you only play 50 some games, every game matters. And it just felt like it was far more entertaining. And you also, didn't have debilitating injuries. But here's a thought. This might be a ridiculous thought. Guys don't wear high tops anymore. I've wondered about if there's a correlation between what the sneakers they wear now. Everybody's wearing the low tops because they like the ankle flexibility. They feel like the high tops are a little restrictive. But even if you go back in the day, you had the Bird and Jordan Converse or Magic Johnson Converse high tops. Even old school Chuck Taylors, as bad as they were, that was a different game back then. But they gave you a little bit more ankle support, joint support. I know guys get taped up and things like that. I just wonder if the sneakers have an effect. Maybe that's a ridiculous thought.
Well, I've worn both. You do get a little bit more support, coach. I mean, I miss the clunky high top days. You couldn't wear those shoes in the game we're playing today in the NBA. It is a running game. I mean, it's literally a running game. It didn't used to be. You had the Detroit Pistons, Bill Laimbeer, Mahorn. They were shuffling. They weren't running. They got down to the trenches, and it was a fight to get to the hoop. You get thrown out of the game for physical plays underneath the hoop. Now they're reevaluating every call for it was an intentional shot to the face. Michael Jordan, they broke his leg when he went into the key and the bad boys in Detroit. He was back the next year though. An Achilles tear is something a shoe. It doesn't matter. It's a wear and tear injury. It's not something that happens by chance. It's known why. You're putting too much stress on that ligament, and we've seen it time and time again. Stretching's a big part of it. I know traditionally in the NBA, there are a lot of people that look at stretching as maybe something that's not good for the quick twitch muscle. I hope that's not the case anymore. I think stretching vitally important, and as you get older, that's tough. That Achilles tendon, where Halliburton, I think he's 27, 28. His Achilles probably is 45, right? I mean, this guy's probably put more wear and tear on those tendons than a normal person has times two. So I think at the end of the day, we got to adjust the schedule or the rules and kind of slow the game down. And when we look at this draft last night, Coach, I was talking about it with a buddy of mine, the Action Man. I wonder if college basketball and regular season NBA, if these things even matter at this point. We had two guys taken in the top 5 from Rutgers, Coach. What is happening to basketball in this country? You can't take 2 lottery picks from Rutgers. I mean, I went there. That's not a basketball school. Am I right? I mean, last I checked, they didn't even make the tournament. So I don't know what the situation is with the NBA. I know they're making a ton of money and they're not going to be too worried about what we're saying, but the health of the players should come more into play at this point. I applaud the NFL for everything they did, and I think the product's better. We're scoring more points in the NFL. You got more people gambling, fantasy, etc. I don't know what the NBA has to do, but it's got to do something.
It does. But the NFL only acted when they got hit with all those concussion lawsuits, and when suddenly the product was being threatened financially. It may take the NBA to lose more high-profile stars. That's unfortunate to say it like that, but it's devastating when you lose Jason Tatum or Halliburton in Game 7, when the game's best players are being taken away because of these injuries. That's maybe when the league will reconsider. But as long as the cash cow, continues to produce, they're probably not going to.
Well, speaking of cash, we were reminded, Coach, the playoffs were incredibly more predictable and better investing money than the regular season. Regular season, we probably finished about 57% Pez's picks. A tough season. I mean, one where we didn't know who was playing, the effort they're putting in, et cetera. In the playoffs, we went to a more slower game, more half-court offense. The amount of points scored per game decreased significantly, which makes gambling a more disciplined, a more database system. We end up going 20-11 on the playoffs. We're 4-1 in those finals. That injury, though, from a gambling sense, when Halliburton went down and it was over, I would have changed my bet if I could have, Coach. Generally, when a team loses a star like that in that game or the next game, they tend to play better. The team that's defending tends to take an exhale. I think we talked about it on the show last week. We didn't make Game 6 for that reason because Halliburton, he didn't look too hot. But in the end, though, Oklahoma City won. The better team won. Indiana played lights out. I mean, they played better than probably they could have. Great job coaching by Carlisle. But I hope Oklahoma City can keep those guys healthy in a unit, because right now, Boston, Indiana, Milwaukee, all blown up. I mean, we're going into this season. We've got Cleveland. We've got Orlando, a decent team. The Lakers, if they get a center. Golden State, I mean, their stars are our age, Coach. So I don't know how many great teams there are in the NBA right now, and I worry about the product. I miss watching Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night games in January and February that meant something. At this point, I don't think they mean much at all to anybody, even the players and coaches.
7 different champs in the last 7 years in the NBA. So there's not really any dynasties right now. It's interesting. All right, let's go to our second topic. I read something the other day that I thought was really interesting. PFF, Pro Football Focus. Some people really love their numbers and their data breakdown. Some people think they're a little overblown. Regardless, they came out with their list of the top 10 returning NFL coaches. meaning guys that had been with their teams in 2024, now returning in 2025. And the man they listed at number 2 overall was Sean Payton, head coach of the Denver Broncos. They had Andy Reid 1. I'll read the top 5 real quick. Andy Reid 1, Sean Payton 2, Sean McVay 3, John Harbaugh 4, Mike Tomlin 5. That was their top 5. And they had a little sort of capsule about each guy, and here's what makes him great, et cetera. And a sentence popped out to me about what they had written about Sean Payton. And they wrote, Sean Payton does not worry about being liked. He only worries about what's best for his team. And that jumped out at me. And I thought to myself, that's a really interesting statement. Can you worry about being liked as a head coach and be effective? To what degree can you worry about it, Pez?
I think at the end of the day, it's baloney for a coach to say it's 1968 again or 1980, where the coach is this hard ass and the players all fear him and hate him. It's a different league now. You have to have respect for your players. Andy Reid, one of the more player-loved coaches I've ever been around. He was in Philadelphia for a long time. Those guys would kill for Andy Reid. Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, I hear them talk about this guy in the same way. Mahomes told this great story. Last summer, he said he was in his yard. I don't know, but playing with his kids. But Andy Reid pulls up in some Mustang convertible to go get cheeseburgers. I mean, this guy, I want to give this guy a hug. Now, Sirianni in Philadelphia, beloved by his players. The guy will go into the crowd and fight a guy if he has to for them. I know Mike Tomlin, the same bond. I think Sean McVay, another great example. When we talk about Sean Payton, that guy's a dick. That guy, nobody likes him, Coach. And I think you can go by wins and losses. Did he get a championship in New Orleans? Certainly they did. But I don't give him much credit. He's a wannabe Parcells. I dislike the man. I don't think Denver is a solid bet. In fact, we're going to bet against Denver now. You got me angry about him, Coach. I hate that guy.
Oh, okay. Wow. That took a turn, man. Okay, you mentioned Parcells' disciple, right? And Bill Parcells was one of the toughest, he was on the last breed or that last version of those old school coaches who were really hard on their players, didn't really care what people thought about them. Bill Parcells used to come up with nicknames for players that would belittle them because he thought it motivated them. He called Elvis Patterson, who was a cornerback for the Giants, he called him Toast because he was always getting burned. Think about how this would have gone over today. In the 1990s, he used to refer to Terry Glenn, a wide receiver he coached in New England, as she, when he would talk about Terry Glenn publicly, because he was essentially making the argument that he was soft. That would not go over really well today. And Peyton was an assistant of Parcells', and he came up in that mode. And he has certainly ruffled feathers, right? Especially when he got to Denver, and he and Russell Wilson had a very high-profile rift and breakup. But he's been really good. He's been really good as a head coach. And I'm not defending him or arguing against him. But I wonder if how much longer can that style be successful? Because you were a head coach for over a decade. I was a head coach for 14 years. We're just talking about the high school level, but we certainly ran into plenty of people who judged us by the way that we treated individuals.
Well, I think the points you're bringing up are good. I think what people mistake being a tough coach and being a dick are two separate things. I mean, we both have coached high school, a little college. We both played a little college ball. And I don't know about you, Coach, but the coaches I played the hardest for, that I respected, that I know everybody on my team respected, were guys that were tough but treated everybody fairly. You have to be somebody that legitimately inspires people to want to play hard, want to train hard, not because you're getting up in their face and belittling them, because you're doing it too. I think of the Detroit Lions right now. I think even Sirianni, right? I think of teams that are, and Andy Reid, teams that get superstars to be in the weight room 3 times a day in April, May, June, July, August, to study the playbook like Jalen Hurts. I mean, this guy never misses a beat with the playbook. Tom Brady, same situation. A guy that people thought was a prima donna, he worked his ass off. And that's why the Patriots were good. It wasn't because he was afraid of Belichick. They had an atmosphere in that locker room. You played hard or you were out. It wasn't that the coach was being mean. You were breaking the deal with everybody else. You're letting the team down. And that's what I think is a tough coach. It's not about talking smack or about getting in someone's face. It's instilling an atmosphere like they do in Pittsburgh, where you're going to play, you're going to defend, you're going to tackle, or you're going to sit down. Belichick, I loved his role. You fumbled, you were out of the game, unless maybe you were Brady, maybe Edelman or somebody like that. But Gronk, maybe. But for the most part, that was it. Say no tolerance for failure or for laziness, and I think that's more the kind of tough coach that not only can you be, you have to be successful at any level. And I think that can be a coach at any level, juvenile all the way up. You don't have to be yelling. You don't have to be showboating or walking around pretending to be a tough guy. You actually have to be tough enough to get people to follow you and be inspired by it.
Let me ask this, though, because I agree with everything you just said. Let me ask this. Can you worry as a head coach, though, about being liked? I mean, I don't think anybody wants to be disliked, but if you worry about whether or not people are going to like you, is that going to compromise your ability to be objective as a coach?
I think if you're worried about that, you're not the right person for the job, right? People that are worried about being liked or disliked aren't doing things for the right reasons. Where you're going to be liked or disliked by who you are, not about pretending to be somebody or talking. It keeps popping in my head, Coach. Everybody knows Pez picks. We hate these guys. The Dallas Cockroaches, because of Jerry Jones, they hire coaches who are worried about one guy's liking them, the owner, right? It's clear. They're pathetic. These guys walk around, they talk like losers, and you look at their locker room, you look at their results over the last 30 years, these guys don't play hard. They don't practice hard. They've got problems in the locker room. They've got problems with effort on the field. And it goes down to that coach who is worried about being liked by Jerry Jones. If he's not liked by him, gone. See you later. So that's the kind of caliber person I think you're above that, right? I don't think Belichick gave a damn if anybody in the media or America liked him. His players clearly liked him and played hard for him and respected him. One of the greatest things I think I ever saw any head coach do. Tom Brady, I think at the time, had 6 or 7 Super Bowl rings. He kicks his trainer buddy out of the locker room. I don't know if you remember this, Coach, but his stretch guru or whatever the hell this guy was, he goes, he's banned. The other players like that. That Tom Brady early in his career probably would have respected that more. I know he didn't. I know it probably ended their relationship a little bit, but that's the kind of coach, that's the kind of leader that people want. That's who players like. That's the kind of coach they like because they want to be treated equally and to be treated fairly. And I love the kind of coach like that. Detroit, I could play for that guy all day.
I think one thing I tried to keep in mind as a head coach was that in the end, whatever decision you make has to be with the good of the whole in mind. You get into a lot of conflict with parents when they don't get what they want and now they come at you. And I would tell them the same thing. Hey, listen, I'm going to respect your opinion. I'm going to listen to you. I'm not going to be disrespectful. But you're only looking at this through one lens, the lens of, you and your son. I have to look at it through the lens of about 100 people, which includes all the players in the program, the coaches, the administrators, the trainer. There are so many different things that I have to consider as the head coach. And ultimately, when I make a decision, it's got to be done from the perspective of what is best for the whole. And that can be very unpopular. And you're going to piss off a lot of people sometimes when you make those decisions. And I think the point you made was if you're worried about whether or not people aren't going to like you because of it, you're not the right person. You can't be worried about if this is going to create friction. You have to do the ultimate thing that's right for the team.
Well, to a broader point, I think this encompasses a big problem we have in American society. I spent the day driving from Lake Champlain, Vermont, which is a gorgeous place, to another area, Killington, Vermont. My son and I listened to a podcast today, Joe Rogan, Bernie Sanders. 2 guys nobody would ever think are going to get along or agree on over 90% of the things they talked about, and they did. It reminds me of the old quote, what unites us is way, way more than what divides us. Both Rogan and Bernie Sanders both said, of course we're against poverty. Of course we're against crime. Of course we're against people that work full time and don't get paid enough to buy food and take their kids out to have fun for a night or two. Of course they're against those things. And these are the issues that should unite us more than divide us. Same thing I would tell a parent, or any coach would tell a parent or a player. Do you want to be the best player you can be? Yes, I want you to be that person too. Do you want the team to be the best they can be because of what you give to the team? Yes, we agree on these things. So at the end of the day, people are now being driven to divide and to look for things to argue and be angry about. We need to get back to basics, Coach. We need to get back to the whole, as you said, any coaching decision should be made for the team and the team only, even if that means benching your best player, kicking Tom Brady's flexibility coach out the locker room. That's for the betterment of the team, not to be a hard ass. Same thing with the country. Do I like that 3 or 4 corporations own all the corporations in America and pay the workers like crap? Of course not. And I don't think that's a political party or stance. I think these are the kind of issues that people should step back, get off the social media a little bit, cursing at each other, looking for things to be angry, and say, hey, we agree on this. Let's work on this. And then the other things will work themselves out.
Let's go full circle here. It comes back to the drum circle, damn it. Let's get out in the woods and start beating on the bongos, and let's see if
I Dave Chappelle'd you. I had this from the beginning. I knew
you did. You weaved your way back to the drum circle. Maybe we need drum circle diplomacy in America.
I think of the best coaches and leaders, and these are people that, like we talked about, they don't care if they're liked or not. They know they're going to be liked by the majority or the people that they're trying to do good things for, or they fail and they should be fired. As Pez's Picks and Fans First Sports Network, I tell the CEO all the time, I start missing picks, fire me, right? This is a competitive market we're in, Coach. Nobody's looking for handouts here, but you want to be treated fairly. You want to be treated respectfully. And I think that's, at the end of the day, all a coach or any leader of any organization can try to do. And, Jimmy Johnson said it best. He goes, if any coach that says I treat everybody the same is lying. He goes, of course, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, I treat them a little different, but I still make them practice. I still make them work hard. They're not walking around owning the team. I think with Aaron Rodgers last year, 2 years ago with the Jets and that HBO show, the coach asked him to address the team every day. He asked him to tell the team what they were doing. Not a situation that would work out. I think this year, Mike Tomlin, the leader he is, exactly the kind of guy we're both talking about. I think Rodgers has a phenomenal year, Coach. I think the Steelers have a phenomenal year. I think that's the big story. And I think that's something that we can all learn from. You got a guy who's crazy, Aaron Rodgers. This guy's nuts. But his views shouldn't determine whether or not he's playing. He can go out there and throw touchdown passes. I respect his First Amendment rights and his craziness as much as I respect Tomlin and doing the right thing.
I hope you're right, man. But what you just said reminds me of the old John Wooden quote, the great John Wooden, who said, not all players should be treated equally. They should be treated fairly. And that can differ from player to player. And it takes a great coach to be able to strike the right balance. So, all right, Pez, great conversation, man. What do you got coming up on Pez's Picks?
Well, we're taking a breather after NBA. We're going to try to figure this baseball thing out, Coach. But we remind everybody, baseball, it's hard. It's a tough thing we're doing here. But we'll get it done. We haven't had a losing season. We don't plan on starting it this summer. We got the British Open coming up. We might even bet some cricket in India or Pakistan at some point, Coach. There's a big cricket season going on now.
Let's go.
South Korean basketball we're taking a look at, too. Things are peaking over there. So we're on Japanese baseball. Maybe we'll poke into that a little bit, too.
Oh, man. Pez's Picks going global. Love it.
We're global.
All right. Enjoy the woods up there, man. Go climb a tree. Go jump in a pond. Hope you have a great day, Pez.
You too, brother.
All right. To everybody listening out there, that's our Friday Hot Route conversation. Join me again on Monday for another week of shows here at the Call Sheet Daily. So for Pez from Pez's Picks, this is Coach Kevin Smith. Have a great weekend, everybody.